بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد. We continue with our lessons in the famous book Taysir Sharh Umdatul Ahkaam لفضيلة الشيخ عبد الرحمن Ali Bassam rahimahullah ta'ala, and that is the explanation of the famous book Umdatul Ahkaam, those things that the rulings in Islam are built upon. This is a famous book from Shaykh Abdul Rahman, from the Ali Bassam, the tribe, the family of Bassam, a well-known family in the Mamlakat al-Arabiyyah al-Saudiya, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We're with the book of fasting. The book of fasting. And the last lesson, I believe we took the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إذا رأيتموه فصوموا وإذا رأيتموه فأفطروا. كما قال, when you see the moon, meaning the new moon of the new month, then fast. And when you all see it, then you should break that fast. And we have mentioned the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before that a person should not fast yom aw yawmayn qabla Ramadan. He should not fast 2 days or 1 day prior to Ramadan. And then the ulama, they had explained, except if a person has a regular fast, such as Yomul Ithnain wal Khamis, on the second day of the week, which we say is equivalent to Monday, and the fifth day, which is Thursday. Other than that, if Ramadan is fast approaching by 2 days or less, meaning 2 to 1 days, then a person should leave those 2 days or the last day free from fasting, so that he or she can make the difference or separate or to make clear that which is a Sawm al-Nawafil, a voluntary fast, from the obligatory fast, which is that which Ramadan signifies, the obligation for every Muslim that has reached the age of puberty and that has the physical ability that they should fast. So if a person was to fast the last 2 days of Ramadan, and the Ramadan comes in, he just takes that fast that he or she is doing for those 2 days, and they actually join those 2 days with the beginning of Ramadan, then there's no distinction between what is an obligation and what is not an obligation in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this ruling is because of the issue of niyyah. As one of the meanings of niyyah, as we say, the intention, and the Arabic language, the ulama of lugha, of nahu, of the technical science of the Arabic language, they say a niyyah qasd. It means someone who has qasd, and qasd means to have an aim. One of the meanings of qasd, or to have a goal. And when you talk about having an aim or a goal, then one of the other meanings that they talk about when they mention niyyah is that niyyah is used لِيُمَيِّزْ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادَاتِ, that you can distinguish between your acts of worship. So if a person was to enter the masjid and the people were praying and he went to the side and started to make 2 rak'at of sunnah, then there's a clear distinction that that person is not praying what is the obligation, because he's praying outside of the congregation, although he's present at the congregation. But if a person was to come in, join the ranks, and they were praying a particular salah, then it's possible that that person in himself, inside of his heart, could have the determination and the decision that he's praying a particular salah, while the group itself is praying another salah. Such as a person overslept dhuhr. He comes to the masjid and asr and he enters the salah. It's possible that in his heart, this is his dhuhr, and that when he finishes, he's going to stand up and make asr, while the community, while the jama'ah, it is clear that they're praying asr in the time of asr. And this is the distinction between that which is one act of worship to another. So similarly speaking, if a person is fasting 2 days or a day before Ramadan, then the distinction has to be made, and that is that a person should only fast 29 or 30 days for the month of Ramadan, and that person should not inwardly or outwardly confuse that by way of fasting 2 days or a day before Ramadan, in order that he or she would not connect those days of fasting that are not an obligation with the obligation of fasting. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he said that a person shouldn't fast a day or two before Ramadan, except that he had an ordinary custom, except that maybe from those 2 days, the Ramadan is supposed to start, for example, Yom Rabu'ah, the 4th day of the week, which is Wednesday, and therefore that person is going to fast Yom Ithnain, Monday, and then of course Tuesday is not his regular, as he fasts Monday and Thursday. So therefore it is okay for him to fast one of those 2 days before Ramadan, as it is his normal practice. Or if a person was doing qada sawm, he had to make up the days from the previous year, then in that case it would be okay. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It would be okay for that person to fast those days that are prior to Ramadan, a day or two, because he has to make up those days before Ramadan comes. And these are the exceptions to the rule, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has laid out. We had also mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned, وَإِنْ غَمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. وَإِنْ غَمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. Ghamma means something is blocked. This is the literal meaning of ghamma, something to be hidden. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَإِنْ غَمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, meaning if the moon is hidden from you. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions, فَإِكْمَلُوا شَعْبَانَ 30. Then you are to complete that month that you are in 30 days, counting the month of Sha'ban. And this shows that there is a type of calculation. However, this calculation is not like the ones that the people do today, where they calculate even though there's a sighting of a moon, or they might add and come up with 31 days in the fast or something like this, or Eid is tomorrow and they're still fasting the day after tomorrow and the day after, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Prophet mentioned, to fast 29 or 30 days. Wallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala musta'an. Tayyib. So we continue bi'idhnillah tabarak wa ta'ala with hadith الثامن والسبعون بعد المية, hadith number 178. And this is because we skipped the chapter of purification and salat and Jumu'ah, and we're in the chapter of fasting. And Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, وهي أم المؤمنات, Salama, on the authority of Aisha, she is the mother of the believers, just as Salama is from the mother of the believers, on the authority of Aisha and Salama. So this hadith is reported by Aisha and Salama. Can anybody tell me who was Aisha? She's the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Barakallahu fikum. And she's bint man, the daughter of who? Abu Bakr, bint Abi Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. So Aisha, she's the Zawjun Nabi, the Prophet's wife. وهي بنت أبي بكر الصديق. طيب. وأم سلمة زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كذلك. Umm Salama is from the wife of the Prophet. ذلك تلك أم سلمة التي يعني ذكر في مسند إمام أحمد أن الشيطان قد حدث إلى وليد بن عقبة أن يقال للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن الحارث رفض أن يعطيه زكاة المال وأن أقوامه خرج عن الملة وأنهم يرادوا أن يقتلوه. This is the same wife in the hadith concerning the verse in Surah Al-Hujurat where Allah said, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. When a fasiq, a sinner comes to you with some news, then verify it. That Surah Al-Hujurat, the verse is the verse talking about when a person comes to you that's clearly a sinner, you verify that which they bring. And that ayah, there are some hadith in the Tafsir ibn Kathir. One of them comes from the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal on Salama, where she said that that person that the Prophet sent, Walid ibn Uqba ibn Walid, he sent him sallallahu alayhi wasallam to Harith. Harith was from a great tribe of the people of Al-Medina. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam had taken the bay'ah, the pledge from him as he entered Islam. And Harith being the head of his tribe, the Prophet ﷺ knew that his people possibly would come with Harith. As he took Shahada, then his people will follow him in that. And you find this common with the tribes. If the tribal person, and he goes this way or go that way, the allegiance to that tribal leader, they follow him in that. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him about his people, and he said, my people will accept Islam with me when I tell the message. And then the Prophet ﷺ told him, if that takes place, then collect the zakat from them, as this is the obligation on the Muslim when he accepts Islam, to pay the zakat if he's from those that the zakat is upon him. So Harith went back to his people, and some time passed, and the hadith didn't specify if it was hours, a day, couple of days, but time passed enough that the Prophet became leery as to what was the deal. So he sent Uqba ibn Walid to find out what's happening with Harith. And when Uqba ibn Walid went, and imagine where we live, if there's no street lights, it's going to be dark. Man hears something in the bushes, something rattle, Allah musta'an. If you don't have no flashlight, it might be shaking in his boots, like in the woods. Dawood told me about that thing. Said, boy, they heard something that was big, scratching against something, they were out of there. He went in the woods hunting. Subhanallah. So you can imagine, like, fright. Forget he's a man, boy, he's in the dark and he's hearing something, boy, like, boy, subhanallah, I'm out of here. So Harith being afraid, Salama in her narration, she said the shaitan told him, go tell the prophet they refused to give the zakat. That's the first lie. The second lie, tell the prophet they threatened to kill you and that Harith's people left Islam. And all of this was out of fright. And he went back and told the prophet, said they threatened to kill me, they refused to give the zakat, and Harith's people left Islam. Immediately in the narration said the Prophet ﷺ became upset. And he thought to himself that he would wage war against those people. So he sent Khalid ibn Walid. You know Khalid ibn Walid. That's like sending Dawood to somebody. MashaAllah. Boy, you better be straight, son. And at that time, when he sent Khalid ibn Walid, Harith and his people were on their way. What happened, Uqba ibn Walid, as he was going, the same thing. He heard people moving, and he became scared and fled. He never made it to them. He just heard them and went and told the Prophet those 3 lies. The Prophet became upset, sent Khalid ibn Walid to go verify. And Allah sent down, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. When a fasik comes to you with a narration, verify it. In accordance with the action of the Prophet. The Prophet didn't say they did it, let's go wage war. Right. The hadith said he thought to himself to do that, but what did he do? He set out with them to go do it? La. He sent Khalid ibn Walid to go find out was this truth. And Allah sent down the verse telling him, this is what you do. Now, Uqba ibn Walid, and we're not dealing with fasting, I'm dealing with Salama, and this whole story came to my head. Salama narrated that this is what happened. Shaitan whispered to him and he went and told those 3 lies. They threatened to kill me, they refused the zakat, and worse than that, Harith's people, because I went to ask for the zakat, they became upset and left Islam. Prophet became upset, thought to himself, we're going to wage war against them because they refused the zakat, that's disobedience. Tayyib, they threatened to kill him, that's a social crime, and they left Islam. A'udhu billah. Sent Khalid ibn Walid to verify, and the verse came down. The verse came down informing the Prophet that he's lying. It wasn't that Uqba ibn Walid was a fasiq. And you can never say that about a Sahaba. Some people have made the mistake, Wallahu musta'an, and we've heard them. Wallahi, make these mistakes. People from Ahlul Sunnah. People that are students of knowledge. People that are ulama, they've made this mistake. Based on this verse and said, that person was a fasiq. Nah, he's a Sahaba. But this doesn't remove him from mistakes, because a fasiq, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr al-Razi in his Mukhtasihah, it's a dictionary, an Arabic dictionary, but this Imam Razi, he gives all his explanations based on Quran and Hadith. He doesn't give explanation based on what the people say alone. He brings the evidence from the Quran and Sunnah. He said, al-fasiq man taraka al-amr Allah. The fasiq is the one, he abandons the command of Allah. So if the Prophet asked Uqba ibn Walid to go to find out what's happening with Harith, the fact that he went shows that he wasn't a fasiq in the beginning, nor in the end, because he didn't abandoned the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prophet. He went. A fasiq would be one who he doesn't go. He went. But along the way, he became afraid. And the shaitan whispered to him, and he came back and he told the prophet that which was not the truth. So the ruling, hukmu fasiq. The ruling is the ruling of a fasiq. But lakin, لا يسمى صحابة فاسقا. But you don't say that Sahaba is a fasiq. Does that mean he turned away from the command of Allah purposely? That's a facet. Fitna can make you turn away. Fright can make you turn away. Pressure can make you turn away. Wallahi. And these are circumstances. Hakada. So when Harith came, before Khalid bin Walid can go to Harith to ride with his people, the Prophet asked him, verifying as Allah said, said, did you refuse the zakat to Uqba bin Walid? Did you threaten to kill him, and did your people leave Islam? And Harith had his people there, and they said no. He said, I've never seen Uqba bin Walid, neither did he see me or my people. The point is, Salama was the one who narrated that the shaitan whispered to him. The other hadith just showed that he went and told the Prophet that which wasn't true. But her narration included the point the shaitan whispered to him. Hakada. Like this. This is the benefit you get when you talk about the people in the chain and the Sahaba, and when you get the whole story, sometimes it's a lot of benefit. وعن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها وأم سلمة. Hadith is narrated on Aisha and Salama. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يدركه الفجر. كان يدركه الفجر وهو جنوبا. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the month of Ramadan, fasting would approach the Prophet. He would wake up from his sleep, and Fajr was there, وَهُوَ جُنُوبًا, and he was in the state of sexual defilement. وَهُوَ جُنُوبٌ. وَهُوَ جُنُوبٌ. He was in a state of sexual defilement. Min ahlihi, shows that that's his wife. One of the terminologies for zawj here is ahla. Doesn't mean like your mother and your father and your children. Sometimes this means the same meaning. But here ahlihi means his wife. So sometimes brothers say, how's your family? He said, how's your wife? In the politest form. Maybe if you say, how's your wife? You will be offended. That seems too personal. If the sister says, how's your family? She's saying to the sister, how is your husband? Maybe she said, how is your husband? That's too close to home. So the Prophet ﷺ, Fajr arrives, or actually arrived as the Prophet awoke from his sleep, and he was in a state of sexual defilement. ثم يغتسل ويصوم. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he took his ghusl and he began his fast. أخرجه البخاري رقم 1926 ولفظ له. And this is the word in the Bukhari. ومسلم رقم ماذا 1109. 1109 in Muslim, and hadith number 1926 in Bukhari. Al-Ma'na Ijmali. The Shaykh, he summarizes the meaning of the hadith. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يجامع في الليل. يجامع في الليل. Prophet sallam, with his family during the night. ربما أدركه الفجر وهو جنوب. And perhaps at times Fajr would appear and the Prophet was still in that state. لم يقتصد. And he had not bathed at that time. وَيَتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ. While at the same time, the Prophet started and completed his fast. وَلَا يَقْضِي. Now, and this did not affect his issue of fasting, the fact that Fajr came and he was in a state of Junub. وَهَذَا الْحُكْمُ فِي رَمَضَانَ وَغَيْرُهُ. So this is the ruling concerning Ramadan, meaning for fasting. That a person, if he's in Junub, or in this case, the woman is in Junub, that doesn't prevent you from starting your fast. And I can guarantee you, the reason the Shaykh Rahman Ali Bassam, rahimahullah ta'ala, has mentioned this point, la yaqdi, that it doesn't harm or prevent a person from doing this fast, because somewhere in the books of fiqh, somewhere in the books of the people of the past, someone has taken that position that if Fajr comes and you're in the state of Junub, that you can't fast. I guarantee you.
You what? You cannot?
The Shaykh, he's mentioning that the Prophet ﷺ, Fajr arose, and then it came, it appeared. The Prophet had relations in the night,
yes,
and the Fajr came before the Prophet could make ghusl. He's saying that the Prophet made ghusl at the time of Fajr, and he began his fast. Okay, and that means he didn't have a suhoor either, because he didn't get a chance to do what was an obligation, that was ghusl. Tayyib, and he can't pray without ghusl, he needs that. So then the Shaykh says, and it did not have any determining factor on the Prophet's fast. La yaqdi. So I'm saying this, the part that the Shaykh is saying, it didn't have any determining factor on the Prophet's fasting, the state of Junub, I can guarantee you, and this is just my opinion, you don't have to take it, but from what I understand the wording, I guarantee you if somebody was to go do the research, Dr. Khalid, Yusuf, Dawood, Kalam, Sheikha, anybody, they will probably find, as strange as it seems, somebody took that position. If Fajr comes and you're in the state of Junub, you can't fast, because the Shaykh is saying La yaqdi. He's refuting the fact that it would do anything regarding the ruling of fasting. And sometimes when you read the books of ulama and you learn terminology, you'll see that this is what they're alluding to, because somebody has this whacked out position. And here it shows that the opposite holds true, because the Prophet began his fast, and it said that he had not made ghusl at the time when the Fajr arrived. However, he did, and he completed his fast, and he can't complete his fast except that he started it. So if you find somebody arguing this point in Ramadan, you can say, no, this is not true. If you wake up, and it's in the fatwa of Islamiyya and the Lesson of Daima, if I wake up and I have Junub, can I fast or do I have to? And the ulama mentioned this. They said, no, you fast. Begin your fast. And the Shaykh said, this is the ruling for Ramadan and other than Ramadan. As we know that this happened outside of Ramadan. The Prophet would wake up sometime when there was no food. He'd say, well, I'll just fast. And he would wake up sometime and he was in the state of Junub, and he will fast without something to eat, make his ghusl inside of the month of Ramadan, and outside of the month of Ramadan is the ruling. You understand me now? I kind of took you for a loop.
When you were saying that somebody would have said that, that's what part I didn't
Yeah.
understand. The other part I understood.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Barakallah fi.
The T, you said can't. I heard can. So that's what I was trying to differentiate.
Barakallah fi. Al-ma'na ijmali. The Shaykh, he said again that the Prophet ﷺ, he had relations during the night, and that the Fajr, we understand the Prophet ﷺ met the Fajr, while at the same time he was in a state of Junub. This means that the person, Barakallahu fikum, needs ghusl. Junub can only be removed with ghusl, generally speaking, unless there's no water. ثم تيمم, then you make a tayammum. Like the origin of ma'adha junub, you have to have ghusl, that you pour water all over the whole body. And they said the Prophet had not made ghusl at this time, and thus the Prophet completed his fast, and this is the ruling for Ramadan. He said هذا مذهب Jamhur ulama, and this is the position of the majority of the ulama. وَلَا مِخَالِفَهُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Jamhur ulama, this means the masses of the scholars. There's a difference between Jamhur and Jamahir. You have Jamhur and Jamahir. Jamhur means the masses of the scholars. It shows the numbers, or great. Jamahir, this means Malik, Shafi'i, wa Ahmad, Duna, Abi Hanifa. Those three are together, and Abu Hanifa separate. When you see Jama'hir, this means again, Barakallahu fikum, Imam Malik, wa Imam Shafi, wa Imam Ahmad, they have a position. And that Abu Hanifa is separate from them. This is called Jama'hir. And some of the people of fiqh, they have called these three, the Jama'hir, Imam Malik, Shafi, wa Ahmad, yani, they are yani Umdatul Deen, or Rukun al-Deen. They are the pillars of the religion. لكن هذا كلام يعني ما عندنا دليل. ما عندنا دليل لهذا. This is not proof in the religion, because الكثر ليس بدليل في الدين. بل الدليل قال الله وقال الرسول. يعني كثر means the multitudes, or the how many people, numbers you have. And if we were to say that the Jama'hir, Malik, Shafi, wa Ahmad, that's the evidence. Wherever they come with, you have to take it because they are the pillars of the religion versus Imam Abu Hanifa. Then this is, yani, needs a text. And sometimes the Jama'hir, they have a position, but Abu Hanifa is by himself. Wa yani talamidhihi Abi Yusuf, wa hum ala ma huwa sahih. And they're right. And Imam Malik wa Shafi wa Ahmad, they're wrong. Sometimes it's like that. So the point is, here it said Jamhur ulama. This means the masses. This doesn't mean all of the ulama, but the masses. This is not a dalil either, because the masses of the people go with something and say something now. The dalil, قال الله وقال الرسول. ولو كان أكثر الناس مع شيء ما هو دليل. If most of the people upon something, it's not a dalil. And likewise, يعني barakallahu fikum, not who is famous. A kalam in the shukhs and majhur wa huwa la. He's famous, so he said so. La. And dalil, قال الله قال الرسول. ما هو كثر. It's not the numbers, not the majority, no. But sometimes they bring a jamhur ulama because it just happens that the masses of the scholars, they have the right opinion. So they bring it in that light. But not because they are the majority. Because the majority is not a dalil. In democracy, the majority and the numbers is a dalil. Cast the ballots, they get the numbers, whoever has the most. That's in democracy. Hakada. But this isn't in the deen of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned, يعني وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِي يعني shakur. Allah said qalilun, that the minority of his servants, they will be grateful. And we know shukur is a type of ibadah. So if the majority is the opposite, then what does that tell you about the numbers? That the numbers are not right. Because Allah said, yani, a small portion of his servants will give yani, thanks to him. That means the majority is always on dalala. Look at the history of Islam, yani khas wa am. Generally speaking, every prophet came, they were upon Islam. Then when the prophet came, Islam became khas, because it's the last deen and the completion of all of the other prophets' deen, and their call to Tawheed. Most of the people were astray. And this is in every time and every, yani, barakallahu fikum, yani, place. And if the numbers were the majority to mean that this is right, then there will never be established the deen of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala fi wajh al-ard, because most of the people, again, are on dalala. Most of them are on what's astray. So if the numbers were the factor, then Allah's deen would have never been established. However, the point here is the dalil. The point here is the dalil. That's why Allah said, قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْحَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Surah Al-Baqarah. Say to them, bring your proof if you're truthful. And this is something that the ummah has got away from. If the masses say it, no matter if it's stand on your head and spin, they say this is right. If the masses say, yani, something is clearly kufr, the masses said it, they go with it. If it's something that's totally against Islam and it produces nothing but chaos, the masses said it, they go with it. Look at the uprising. Allah, I was in St. Louis, I just come back from Egypt. I did the khutbah, the whole masjid cried, subhanallah. And they had just broke out with the fitna in Tunis, and it spread to Egypt. And they just start protesting in the streets of Yemen. Wallahi, the people after khutbah said this, Ya Allah, subhanallah. This is, how can you say this about the madaharat? This is from Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Jihad and fadl min Allah. And this is from Allah. You're mistaken in the khutbah. No, this is protesting and going out against the leaders. This is jihad. This is a blessing from Allah. The leaders of taqa wa hada wa hada. And they were oppressive. After the time passed and the damage was assessed, wallahi, the brothers came back and said, astaghfirullah. Wallahi, it was worse in every place than it was with those tyrannical leaders. And this is what Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyya mentioned. There will never be an overthrowing of a people except that leadership, and those people will be worse than the one who was the tyrant before. And this is a fact. This is a fact. So when we talk about the numbers, the people, they get food every time. The numbers, the masses, uprising, this, that. The masses overthrow this one, kill this one, that. No, it's the dalil that is the evidence, not the numbers. He said that no one opposed this position of the Jamhur ulama. قد حكى بعضهم الإجماع على هذا قول. And some of them, they have even narrated that it is ijma'. Ijma' means everybody agrees. So you have jamhur, which is the masses. And you have jamahir, Malik, Shafi, wa Ahmed, Duna Abi Hanif. And Abi Hanif is over by himself. And people say these are Umdatul Deen or Kana Deen. La, kalam batil. This is gulu. This is extremism. Because those three said and they were great imams. La, it's not a dalil. Then you have ijma'. And here they're saying, some ulama have even quoted that there's consistency that if a person wakes up and Fajr is there, that it is suitable to start your fast even though you're in the state of Junub. And the issue of ijma', some ulama have said there's no such thing as ijma', because how can you count all of the ulama around the world? This is what ijma' means. Nobody disagrees. But some of them say ijma' is a such thing, meaning from what we find in the recordings. And sometimes people say it's consensus. Then you find somebody come with a text. So if there's a text from Quran, a text from Sunnah, then there's no need for ijma', because ijma' is a consensus. So if there's dalil from kitab or sunnah, then you don't need ijma'. But if there's no dalil from the kitab, no sunnah, then ijma' becomes a text. As the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يجتمع أمتي على ضلالة. That my ummah won't agree upon something that is astray. If they unanimously agree on something, it's guidance. And Shaykh al-Albani authenticated this hadith. قد ذكر الشيخ بن باز رحمه الله تعالى الأصول في الدين ثلاثة. Sheikh bin Baz said that the principles in the religion are three. قال الله, statement from Quran. قال النبي من حديث صحيح والإجماع. Those three are dalil in this ummah. أما جمهور, the masses, والجماهير مال أحمد والشافعي والكثر, the numbers over here, or majhur shakhsan, this person, he's famous, he said, ليس بإسلام شيء من الدليل. There's nothing considered in the religion that this is dalil. So from this we understand, barakallahu fikum, that a person shouldn't be discouraged. And it's going to happen. You're going to be tired, you're going to have a long night, and you're going to wake up and it's Fajr. Sometimes you're going to wake up, Fajr is already in, the sun is up. Can't use that as an excuse, well, I'm not fasting today because I was in the state of Junub. Your body is one thing as it relates to that, and fasting is another thing as it relates to the issue of worship. And we find this in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi وعلى آله وسلم. The Shaykh, he brings some points. The first point he mentions is that the fasting for the individual, that the morning reaches him and he's in a state of Junub, من جماعة في الليل صحة صوم من أصبح جنوبا من جماعة في الليل. So the first thing the Shaykh mentions is the correctness of a person's fast, who the morning reaches him and he's in that state. His fast is good. And you learn that from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ as he began his fast. The Shaykh mentions the second thing, يقاس على جماع الاحتلام بطريقة الأولى لأنه إذا كان مرقصا فيه من المختار فيغيره. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. فيغيره يعني أولى. The Shaykh here is saying this includes the issue of your fasting being good if a person has wet dream. This falls under the same category as a person having relations. If a person wakes up from having a wet dream, same ruling. Take a shower, fast. Except if a person did that purposely, like istimta', and he has masturbation, billah, then this affects his fast. As you have been reminded in the khutbah that one of the types of fast is that you kaffal al-batan with faraj. You refrain the body parts, and that includes the private. So this shows that if a person thinks that this is okay, then it's not. That person, if he has a wet dream, then the same ruling for the one who was with his wife, except that he purposely does this during the time of Fajr. As Fajr, that means the day has started and you should be fasting. Number 3, أنه لا فرق بين الصوم الواجب والنفل. Here it shows there is no difference in the ruling between the obligatory fast and that which is supererogatory. ولا بين رمضان وغيره. And neither is there any difference in the ruling between Ramadan outside Ramadan. Number 4, جواز الجماع في ليالي Ramadan. This shows the permissibility of having relations with the spouse in the night of Ramadan. ولو كان ماذا ولو كان قبيل طلوع الفجر. Even if it's right before the time of the appearance of Fajr. وأخذ بعضهم جواز الصوم من الجنوب من جنبه. And some of them have made it clear the fact that a person can fast while he is in that state, based on the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةُ الصِّيَامِ لَيْلَةُ الصِّيَامِ رَفَثُ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. Now, and this is a proof of that a person fast as it relates to what took place during the night of Ramadan. And these are some of the benefits that the Shaykh brought around the issue of fasting. Number 5, فضل نساء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وإحسانهن إلى الأمة. And this shows the virtue. The Shaykh says number 5, the virtue of the wives of the Prophet, those who were from the Sahabiyat, how they gave the right of this religion to the religion, as they narrated this very important information. How will we know that? If they kept quiet, they didn't talk about the good virtues and the ibadah of the Prophet. So this is from amongst that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. And inshallah ta'ala, We'll take one short hadith as the time is coming, like 4 minutes. Hadith al-Taysir was Saba'un Ba'd al-Miyah. Hadith number 179. 179. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من نسي وهو صائم فأكل أو شرب Prophet ﷺ, he said, whosoever forgets that he is fasting, and that individual, because of that forgetting that he fasts, he ate or he drank, and the Prophet ﷺ, he says, فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. Because verily Allah has fed him. Allah has given him that which is from food and drink. Meaning Allah has blessed him to have that nourishment as he willed that for him. And again, it's talking about if a person forgot. This goes back to the ghaib. Allah knows the heart. If a person, he sits, he eats 2 cheeseburgers, a fry, drink a soda, sit back, and he knows that he's not supposed to do it. And then, when his brother comes in, or his mother, or his wife, he says, oh, stuck for Allah, I forgot I was fasting. Allah knows. Such is the case if a person is cooking. Some of the ulama said you can taste it because you are making an intention just to make sure it's not too bitter, it's not too salty. But a person who eats a whole meal, or he bites something, or drinks something, and he forgets, then this is what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about, and it goes back to the niyyah. And man nasiya, he forgets. And this is even for that which is greater than Sawm. What's greater than Sawm? From the Ahkaam of Islam. And don't say Shahada. If you forget that, Allah musta'an. Salat. Barakallahu fikum. What happens if you forget Salat? Dhuhr comes in and it's Maghrib. I didn't pray Asr. I prayed Dhuhr. Asr came in. I didn't pray it as Maghrib. What do? Make it up. I have to take Shahada again? No, for real. Some people think that. No? Yeah, some people have strange. I have to make some special tawbah. What do? Just make it up. That's it. And that's because you forgot. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna Allah yujawazu an ummati. The first thing he said, verily Allah has pardoned my ummah. What do you think the first thing he mentioned, as he mentioned 3 things in this hadith of Ibn Majah, Allah has pardoned the ummah from? Nusyan. Aywa. Same word, nasiya, nusyan. Forgetfulness. You forget, Allah has already pardoned you. And that's a general hadith that this fits in. You forget to pay somebody the money back. Wallahi, Allah doesn't hold you because you you broke your promise. You forget to pray, Allah doesn't hold you accountable. And you forget to give your sadaqah al-fitrah, and you're supposed to give that qabla khuruj as-salat, before you go up for salat. Allah is not going to hold you if you forgot. Like you did it out of negligence and you didn't forget, you're running behind, you should have did it 2 days or a day before Ramadan, you lagged around, it's 2 minutes before Salat al-Eid, you didn't get. It's different. You see, and likewise with the soul, whoever's fasting and he forgot, and he eats something or drinks something, and he should continue his fast. Why? Because he just writes that down, he chalks that down as Allah fed me. Meaning Allah gave me some barakat, but I'm still fasting. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyina Muhammad. Any questions? Inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. From the power talk, from the phone lines, from the people in the masjid. Hafizakum Allah. Faddal.
Inshallah, you're talking about, I just came late.
Jazakallah khair.
But you know, when you wake up in the janaba, so this goes in the hadith that you mentioned, the last one.
Nah.
Because one of them is the nisyan and the other one is if you sleep until you wake, that is,
رفع القلم عن ثلاثة. نعم. 2 different hadith, but the rule is the same.
And majnoon
المسحات يعقل والنائم حتى ماذا؟
يقوم.
يستيقظ. أيوة.
So this is, I mean, that ruling, it goes with the
With the fasting as well.
first, yeah, that's
صح.
what I mean. Junub, because you were sleeping
Yes.
and you in Junub, when you wake up, just make ghusl
صح.
and continue.
صح. صح.
Okay.
No, because this part of the hadith said, yani, the person had relations during the night. It's not, it's shown here that he slept, but it's implied. Because if he was awake, how could he not take ghusl alayhi salatu wasalam and be ready for Fajr? This is the Prophet, you know.
So, my understanding is that if you have few minutes before the Fajr,
Uh-huh.
and you wake up and you just have time, either you could take sahur or you could take a shower, bath. My understanding is that you make your sahur and even then you could take a shower after that.
أحسنت بارك الله فيكم. Excellent. هذا هو. أيوة. لكن أين الدليل لهذا القول? Where's the delil for this statement? He said from what he understands, if a person has a few minutes, he has janab in the night for the same reason. Should he take a shower or eat his suhoor? He said he should eat the suhoor and then take his ghusl. I said, excellent. This is right. What's the delil for this? That he should eat his suhoor and not worry about the ghusl before Fajr. What's the delil?
The
Aywa.
deal is that you could fast with you could start the fast with the janab.
Aywa. Ahsanta. This is the delil. Because the Prophet did it. Just imagine that it was something to eat. It didn't mention in the hadith. When the Prophet said, Yani alaykum bis suhoor.
Yes.
And this alaykum bis suhoor, this means wajib. If you have the ability, take it.
Right.
Because in that suhoor is barakat. It's going to hold you. And anytime it's something that would put the Muslims in harm's way, you don't go to that willingly. So to have some nourishment in your body when you're going to fast, this is like wajib. But everything is based on the ability. That's why the Prophet said, alaykum bis suhoor. Take it. Would say is mustahab, because this is the ruling, generally speaking, but he emphasized it as if it was wajib because of its importance. So you'll wake up, you have janaba, and you got enough time to eat some dates and drink water or a bowl of cereal. You're going to rush, take a ghusl. Nah, you eat your suhoor. Then you take your ghusl. هكذا. MashaAllah. Barakallah fikum.
This is different.
تفضل. جزاك الله
I
خير.
was thinking about it while I was coming. I know earlier you, in the Jum'ah,
Ah.
you mentioned for the people to stand up and make sunnah. Because you mentioned word of farad. I was just want to make, I know because it's the farad, it's making it because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ ordered that person to stand up. So we take that sunnah as important as anytime we will come to the masjid
نعم.
make the sunnah.
نعم.
Is that, that's how I understood it, inshallah.
بارك الله فيكم. نعم. فيها حديث خاص وعام.
Yes.
There's hadith that's general and those that are specific. ولسنا سميتها فردا. وإن كان فرد واجب بمعنى واحد قلنا واجب
No.
على صيغة اللفظ.
No.
We don't say farad because the wording in the hadith didn't say farad. But even though farad and wajib, and we clarified this with the hadith in the earlier chapters when Ibn Umar said farada nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ماذا؟ فرض النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم زكاة الفطر. So the Prophet made farad zakat al-fitr. So that erases this whole concept that farad is different from wajib. Farad is only from Allah, wajib is from the Prophet, and that if you do wajib, it's okay, but if you leave it off, there's no punishment. This is a mistake from those fuqaha who say that. The Prophet, Ibn Umar, wa Abi Sa'id, Abdullah ibn Abbas, all of them used the word farad al-Nabi, that he made sadaqat al-fitr farad. Okay, so we know that it means the same. And Sheikh Ali Bassam, when he went to explain it, he said, Awjab al-Nabi sallam sadaqat al-fitr. He used the word awjab, which is from wajib, and he didn't use farad. But the Sahaba said farad. That's how we know they mean the same, interchangeable. Tayyib. You have this statement of the Prophet sallam, which is in Bukhari and other than him. He said, إِذَا دَخَلَ الْمَسْجِدَ إِذَا دَخَلَ أَحَدُكُمُ الْمَسْجِدَ فَلَا تَجْلِسُوا لَمْ نَحِي. If any one of you enter the masjid, do not sit down. حتى يصلي ركعتين. That's the hadith of Anas. Till you pray 2 rak'ah. Then you have the hadith of Muslim on Abi Hurairah when the man came in the masjid, and it's in the Sunan books like Abi Dawood and other than them. The man came in and the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا دَخَلَ أَحَدُكُمُ الْمَسْجِدٍ وَالْإِمَامْ يَخْطُبُ يَوْمَ الْجُمْعَةِ فَلْيُصَلِّ رَكَعَتَيْنِ. If any one of you enter the masjid on the day of Jumu'ah and the Imam is given the khutbah, then pray the 2 rak'ah. كل هذا تحت حقوق المسجد بل هو تعظيم لبيت الله تبارك وتعالى. All of this is under the umbrella of showing reverence for the house of Allah, which goes back to giving Allah His haqq. Because Allah said, إِنَّ مَسَاجِدِ اللَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. Naam. The masajid are for Allah. Min ibadah. That's the sole purpose for the masjid. So it's not a time you can come in except you have to do some worship. However, some of the ulama say if a person comes in, barakallahu fikum, if a person comes in and he doesn't intend to sit, he's going to stand, then that person doesn't have to pray 2 rak'ah. He's going to stand because the Prophet ﷺ said in the first hadith, do not sit down until you pray rak'atain. But this doesn't mean that if a person comes in and the imam is on the minbar, that he doesn't pray it. And this is not disrespect. Because the Prophet ﷺ would have never told the people to do something disrespectful. Rather, he said that the imam is giving khutbah, فَيُصَلِّ رَكَعَتَيْنِ. Pray 2 rak'ah. So this is an obligation, and this is only because the masjid is not like the mata'am, it's not like the restaurant, it's not like the saloon where you get your hair fixed, it's not like the suq. None of those places where you find a person go in, face the qibla and pray 2 rak'ah. لكن المسجد يعني أعظم مكان في وجه الأرض بل هو محبب إلى الله تبارك وتعالى أحب مكان في الدنيا. It is the most greatest, prestigious place on the face of the earth, rather is the most beloved place to Allah on the face of the earth. مع أن أسواق أحب مكان إلى الشيطان أعوذ بالله. While the suq is the best, the most beloved place to shaitan. هكذا.
So my question, inshallah, I mean, I got the whole point. But if I don't do it, is that meaning I'm sinning?
لك أثام كما بين الشيخ وثيمين. أثام. It's a sin on you.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So,
ولكن إن كان شخص جاهلا بهذا فله أذر بالجهل. If a person doesn't know, لا عليه بشيء.
But if you know,
if he knows and he doesn't do it, like the Prophet told the man in one hadith, he said, stand up and give sadaqah.
yes.
The man refused. The Prophet told him 3 times. Then the people was looking at him. They almost broke their Jumu'ah. Like, and the Prophet said, what's wrong with you? You won't give sadaqah. Then the Prophet said, stand up and pray 2 rak'ah. And that man came the next week, sat down again. The Prophet stopped. This is another hadith. Told him the same thing. Allahumma stan. Some people just like, what are you going to do? And Prophet couldn't let him just sit, leave him alone, because this is haqq Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. This goes back to Allah's right. He couldn't. So, barakallahu feek. But if a person doesn't know, Allah not going to burden you because you didn't know. It's when you know.
That's what our problem, when we know.
When you know, and you know this is the problem. So how many things we know and we don't do? Astaghfirullah. Wallahi, how many things we don't do and we have the knowledge of? This is the problem. As if our hearts are not there. We just have bodies with no hearts. If the heart is there, when the ilm come, when the amr come, the person who fear Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, qalbahu tajiduhu hayyan. You'll find his heart alive, active. فاستجيبوا لله ورسوله إلى دعوكم لما يحييكم. Answer Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, His messenger, when they call you to what gives you life. This doesn't mean the person is dead. This means his heart is dead. Imagine if the thing is dead, like that wall. It's not going to move. You have to move it. So if the person is dead, he's not going to move. If your heart is alive and the knowledge comes, just like when you're alive and you drink and you eat, you move. You get energy. When the knowledge comes to the heart, you're supposed to get spiritual energy. Give me some more. Wallahi. Even somebody correct you, you should be happy somebody's correcting you. Because that correction, it gets that burden off your back. Wallahi. And it gives you the rahmah that the next time you have the option to do it right. Well, before you were in dhulumat and Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala brought you to nur. Sahih. This is the beauty of Islam. ولكن الشيطان يزين أعمالنا ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى سلام وعافية. The shaitan beautifies the actions. والله المستعان. إلى هنا إن شاء الله ويؤذن إن شاء الله. بارك الله فيك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. ها؟ هكذا.